Hey, what is up, guys? As I said with my previous amorphage deck profile that I did a few days ago, I would show you some replays of amorphage. Now, I've done this on DevPro because, as I said prior, doing this on Dueling Network will take forever and they'll probably quit after game 1 because I've tested this out on Dueling Network and it takes up to like 20 minutes for one game to go by. So hopefully on DevPro you'll be able to watch these much more faster and much more consistent. So I hope you guys enjoy. So as you can see, the first game that I'm going to be up against is going to be Malefic Gravekeepers. Now, I haven't seen Malefic Gravekeepers in quite some time. I've usually only seen regular Gravekeepers when I'm at Huddersfield events. But I start off with the Magical Abductor and then try and rack up as many counters as possible. Unfortunately, I couldn't rack up 3 to get 3 monsters, so I was like praying that my opponent doesn't OTK me. But even if they attempted to OTK me, I could attempt to reduce the damage with Lysis, even though it would only be like 100 reduce. But I top deck into the Sloth, which is actually quite good right now because I can remove the counters from Abductor to search for Greed. Now, Greed's the one that stops my opponent, well, stops any traps from being activated except for amorphage traps. So that plus Sloth is kind of good because against Gravekeepers they don't tend to have big beaters except for this person who happens to run Malefic Stardust. So unfortunately, it locked him out of his back row, so he couldn't have like Mirror Forced or Phoenix Chained my Sloth because Greed was stopping that from happening. But unfortunately, as I don't control Morphage anymore, he's free to use his traps. But I Dark Hole his board, so that's like his biggest beater gone, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. And I'm just kind of going through, just waiting till I top deck into a monster and using my field spell to give me a free token. As amorphages, you must tribute a monster or they go kamikaze mode and blow themselves up. Now, this field spell actually gives me a free token, so they don't have to go kamikaze, and thanks to him, he's giving me a free extra counter for Magical Abductor, so I can have my free search now. So I use the field spell again to keep my Greed on board, and then I use Abductor to get into my Wrath, which this is actually the biggest amorphage that I've got because I don't run Pride, because I don't see there's much reason to run Pride because its pendulum effect is nah, because Magical Explosion doesn't exist, and its attack is only 100 bigger than Wrath, so it doesn't really matter because Lysis makes my opponent's monsters lose attack and Infection makes my monsters gain attack, so it doesn't really bother me as much. And as my opponent's like helping me out now because by him still activating spells, it's just giving me free counters, so he can just keep on doing that. And as you can see here, he's like racked up all this back row that he cannot use because of Greed, and now I top deck again into Duality, which is like, for me, Duality in this deck would be so good if it didn't have the restriction of the whole you cannot special summon the turn you use it, because I had to use this to keep Greed on board because I wasn't going to tribute Wrath because there was no way of me getting Wrath back. So that's why I wasn't going to use Duality, because I had to special summon to keep my Greed on board. And then I end up just using Scapegoat, so I don't have to tribute off stuff. Tribute off my Wrath. And then I top deck into that Regeki, which is like best thing right now because my opponent can't use traps in a trap heavy deck. I have 2 reasonable beaters because anything my opponent summons now is going to instantly lose 400 because of Lysis. So I'm in like really good position right now. So my opponent then sets a monster and passes because there isn't really a lot he can do, and then I just continue getting more advantage here by just getting free token. And then I tribute 2 for Goliath, which now it means that my opponent's got to have a monster with over 3150 attack to be able to kill Goliath, and that's like very difficult in this deck because they don't really have a lot. So that's the first replay. Hope you enjoy the second one. Now, this version of Heroes I was almost not going to count because it's a weird version of Heroes to say the least, mainly due to the fact that he's running this. Now, in theory, it would work because if a fusion monster is destroyed, you can have one of the fusion materials back to your hand. However, Unfortunately, that does not work in Masked Heroes, even though it is a fusion monster. It's not really a fusion summon, so unfortunately for those people who was thinking Mass change into Dark Law and then get free Shadow Mist back when it dies, no, that will not happen. But in this version, it does seem to work quite well because he goes into Blazeman, searches for Polly, which piques up my interest because I wondered not many versions of heroes like fusion summon anymore. But then he goes into Nova Master. Now, because of this combo here, even though I've killed Nova Master now, this triggers letting him add Blazeman back to hand. Well, special summon Blazeman. And then Supply Squad triggers giving him free draw power and Blazeman to search again. So he's like got a decent hand advantage just from that 2-card combo. But I can't remember why, but for some reason I didn't attack here. Lord knows why, because I could have killed that for freebies. But he goes into Nova Master again, and I go bottomless, so he won't get this. But he gets the free Supply Squad draw, and I top deck into Scapegoat. I activate it straight away because I want to keep my scales, and also I can't Pendulum Summon back Wrath because they're both scales of 5, so the Scapegoats let me tribute off the tokens instead, and then I just deal some damage to him. But because of my back row, I feel like I'm in a pretty good position because of the Storming. If he pulls off anything big, I can just like bounce it straight back. But for some reason I waste the Storming. I don't know why I keep on wasting resources with decks. It just proves how bad I am as a player. But tribute off the tokens again because I want to keep this on board because it's basically a second version of Macrocosmos because anything that go to the grave gets banished instead, and this stops him from using monster effects, so it makes it quite good for me. But I decide to leave the Wrath in hand because there's no point in summoning another monster when I don't run an extra deck or anything like that, which I am thinking of running one just for like intimidation purpose and the off chance of making that one cowboy that makes you win the game. But unfortunately, since I don't have anything to tribute off now, my scales both die, but thankfully it does decrease this quite a bit, so it means that I can kill him now with Wrath. And then I've got this to basically give me free monsters again, because in this deck, free monsters is like your best friend. Any card that gives you free monsters, you just want to run it. And then he plays another old-fashioned card of Skyscraper, which I'm still sitting here thinking, what the hell kind of version of Heroes is this? Skyscraper, Flash Scarab, what is this, like Jaden deck that I'm seeing? But I get my free token and I just set the Magic Drain and pass because there's not really anything else I can do, and I've just got the Regeki and the Magic Drain, so he runs them into my token, and then the best thing ever, I just like top deck into the greatest card in the universe, Pot of Duality. So from the Duality, I just kind of go into the card Demise, and then my opponent quits from there because he sees I've got Demise and notices that I'm just going to get 3+ off it, and even though I can't game him, it will give me 3+, but unfortunately, as you can see here, as you can see here, it'll only give me Infection, a Demise, and another Infection, which would still leave me in a bad position because I don't have any monsters on board, so he could potentially do more damage to me, but either way, he quits after that. As you can see here, I play the card Demise and he quits. So, yeah, that is amorphage. Now, just before I forget, there will be a link down below in the description box to the deck profile if you haven't seen the deck profile, so ciao.